Hello and welcome to the Spiritual Solopreneur podcast. Today, my guest is Deb Doughty. Deb is a transformational coach, master holistic practitioner, speaker, and author who specializes in showing individuals and entrepreneurs how to find more clarity, get more peace of mind, and stop the self-sabotage to become unlimited. Deb is board designated as an international hypnotherapy trainer instructor, a master practitioner in neuro-linguistic programming, master hypnotherapy practitioner, master timeline therapy practitioner, and master practitioner in NLP results coaching. Deb works with the unconscious mind, addressing the root cause of emotional blocks, not just the symptoms, and behavioral patterns to generate change. Hi, Deb.
Hey, hey, Bev, how are you? Thank you for having me on.
I'm good. Thank you for coming.
I'm excited.
Deb, that is a lot of masters after your name.
Yes, and I'm very proud of it, to be
You
quite
should
honest.
be.
Very
You
proud of
should
it.
be.
And however, it's all about the client and having them transform is what it's about. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
So, NLP, hypnotherapy, master timeline, NLP results. Congratulations. And how did you get into all this? Were you doing something else before, or was this your calling right from the beginning?
Now, actually, what's interesting is I have actually always been just very enamored by the mind, what we actually think about, because we really get to think about what we're thinking about, how the unconscious mind works. So I was always very into it, let's just say. And
Right.
so in my early 20s, I actually was in corporate America. I was in corporate for over 10 years. And 8 of those 10 years, I was actually running and starting my own business as an independent person on the side and doing coaching. I was doing business coaching, I was doing life coaching. And, when I got tired of being sick and tired of the corporate world, is when I really made my move. So I've been an entrepreneur since my, mid 20s. And what really prompted me for the NLP end of things, NLP, timeline therapy, hypnotherapy, and going really deeper into that was I really wanted to bring more like quantum tools to the forefront to be able to help people move through and transition quicker, not be so stuck, to be quite honest. So there's all kinds of different modalities out there, as we know, and there's beautiful modalities out there that do assist with people and them moving forward. Sometimes, depending on what it is that they've done or not done or what have you, sometimes they get to a place that it's not sustainable. And a lot of those times it's because they never got to the root cause of what actually was going on with those stressors or that trauma, that overwhelm, depression, whatever it is. And they weren't getting necessarily to the root cause and what was actually stuck in the programs and the patterns that they had. So I really, because of personal experience, I have people in my own family that had chronic, anxiety, depression, festered with different actual physical disease. And I just knew, like, I know the power of the mind. And I also knew that there was techniques that could be brought to the people that could work quicker and faster and be able to have lasting change. So that is why I dove more into that. And I have those masters, behind me. And and what's interesting is I mean, I've always loved doing what I do, and I wanted to affect change quicker, right? I actually have certifications in like mindfulness and Reiki, which is energy work. I have meditation certifications and even yoga body stretching for flexibility. So it's so much fun that when I added and I was able to really deep dive into the NLP, the hypnosis, timeline therapy, and all of that, what a unique blended hybrid approach that I get to work with people now to be able to not just have the results, but to have them have lasting change, which I'm so excited about.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you work with the mind, the body, and the brain, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Essentially.
And
So,
also and actually, and their spirit.
and their spirit.
But yeah, and speaking to their higher self and their yeah, a spirit. A lot of people I work with that are wanting to take a deeper dive even into their own spirituality, and they
Mm,
have blocks there. So yeah, quantum we get into quantum techniques, we get into, metaphysics, we get into all of that. It's really it's so lovely that it's a blend of neuroscience mixed with neuropsychology, positive psychology, with kinesiology, energy work, mindfulness, right? All that, and bring that together to make to allow the person to come back to wholeness and to
right,
have choices, really.
right. Truly holistic.
Yeah. Yeah. Very,
Right.
very, very.
Awesome. So what do people come to you most for? Is there something? I'm gonna take a wild guess.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, take a guess.
I think it's money blocks.
Well, that's a good guess.
But okay, you tell me.
That's a great guess. That actually is one of them, to be quite honest. That's a great guess. And actually, Bev, it's fun because it really is from one extreme to the other, to be quite honest. It's really about people coming to me about wanting to have true change and change in their beliefs, and also to change their behavioral patterns that they have. Quite honestly, no matter whether that is in money because they're having money blocks. um, it could be people that are really super successful who just really have hit a plateau in their career and or with money or what have you, and they know something's there, they just don't know quite what it is and how to get over that hump. So I work with many successful people about that. I also work with people who um, have physical ailments in their bodies that it has manifested now from a in a physical standpoint, and we're clearing out the stuck and trapped emotions that are there to allow faster healing and how to deal with those things on an emotional level, because it's not just about our conscious mind, it is the unconscious and what is there, the deep patterns and everything that we have, right? um, I deal a lot with people who have, the total opposite. It could be they are so stressed out, they're starting to have burnout, they are having anxiety and or even depression sometimes, and they have a lot of people will talk about limiting beliefs. Before we can make a limiting belief, though, we've created a limiting decision somewhere
Mm,
in our core. We've created a limiting decision somewhere from an unconscious perspective that has created these limiting beliefs. So and it could be whatever. Again, fear about money. It could be not feeling good enough. It could be difficulty in their creativity, their spirituality, having some grief or some habits and patterns that they want to change that's no longer serving them.
yeah.
They could be, having emotional blocks from past trauma or triggers that they really haven't maybe addressed at the root cause, right? It also could be something as simple, Bev, as somebody wanting to change just like a quick habit. I mean, whether I've had people that have bit their cuticles, I
Right.
have people that have twisted their hair because they're anxious, right? I mean, it could be something simple that, like literally one thing that I had before that I had another practitioner work with me on was I was leaving like my piles of papers on the kitchen table. And I did it for years. And my partner, Brian, really didn't care for that very much. So, you know what? I was like, you know what? I get to shift this habit. And I had another practitioner do a quick technique on me, and I don't do it any longer. So it could be something like that, or it can actually be a really bad habit of, let's just say, smoking or overeating or drinking.
Yeah.
Do work with quite a few people too with weight reduction and feeling good in their body. And if you notice, I didn't say weight loss. That's what the industry will say. But from an NLP perspective, if you lose something, you can always gain it back. So we
Mm,
don't call it a weight loss breakthrough or something, or hypnotherapy. We call it weight reduction and body confidence, feeling good in your body. So
yeah.
hope that answers your question. It really
Well,
does from
absolutely.
one extreme to the other, really.
Yeah. Well, you have so many tools at your disposal. It
Absolutely.
almost doesn't matter what it is. You can pick and choose. I mean, even physical, as you mentioned, physical
Absolutely.
ailments. You have your Reiki. You have, but also just the psychological
Yeah.
origins of physical disease conditions. So do you, I'm assuming that you are a believer that physical ailments start not in the body.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. So there is metaphysics, there is meta studies that are out there as well. So there is things that we can deal with metaphysically. And from meta perspectives, meta studies, that all chronic disease actually start from repressed rage, anger, and that is proven. That is, not to get into all of that, but that's how it can manifest in our body, and then of course the emotions that go along with all of that. So, there's somebody right now who I am working with who had a diagnosis of breast cancer. So we're working through what the underlying emotions and everything of what that actually is and possibly where it came from and all of that, along with doing the conscious work. So there is conscious work to be done because they're dealing with the emotions of what's going on now, right? The unknown and all those types of things. So we're learning, or they're learning how to manage their state through what this diagnosis was, right? But within, we all have the perfect blueprint within our own bodies. And that's why it is working through, our mind and our brain. It is through the physical body, and it is through our spiritual body and mind as well. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty powerful.
absolutely. Just for my edification, how does NLP actually work? I always wondered that.
Well, that's a good question. Excuse me. That's a really great question. It's interesting because I can't give you one particular thing. However, NLP in itself, it's the model of communication, really, right? It's how we communicate with selves and with others, and how we actually communicate, and how we are able to create that effect on people, and the effect that we want with the different behavior that we want to have to change, right? So really the NLP end of things, there's so many different techniques as well with that. And that's why with being a master practitioner, I have more tools to actually work through. But it's really, the bottom line is it's really managing the states that we get into, and I'll talk a little bit more, but it's about managing those states that we get into. The states are derived though from what we call our IRs, our internal representation, right? So another way to say that is the movies in our head, right, that are going on, and the stories that we're telling ourselves. So those internal representations in the movies, and how literally how we are in our body, our physiology, that all drives our state. So what happens, the NLP model of, let's say, communication, right, is that we're learning what are the stories that we're saying to ourselves in our brain and the patterns and stuff that we have, and how are we holding it really in our body, physiologically, and then how the states that we're getting in, and then the state that we get into, Bev, that drives behavior. and your behavior then gives you the results and or not. So what happens is that every behavior, people don't realize, but every behavior, Bev, actually has a strategy that's attached to it. A strategy. So when we learn how to master your state, let's just put it that way, when we learn how to master your state, your internal representations, change the strategies literally in the wiring. So we're changing we're creating different neural pathways for you, literally rewiring and reprogramming your brain to have a different result so you can have the behavior changes that you truly want to have. And it's
Okay.
so interesting. And and it's all comes from, our values and our BS, which in this case stands for belief systems.
Right.
So
Okay.
we're shifting that,
Which
right?
might be the other thing too.
Right, right. It totally is. It totally is. And then what's so cool though about it is that, when we're able to then use like hypnosis with it, or timeline therapy with it, and do hypnosis specifically gives you 10,000 times more focus. 10,000
Whoa.
times more focus. Yeah. Can you even imagine it? And, there has been meta studies that actually have said that hypnosis is the wonder drug without side effects.
Nice.
So I'm always saying, like, really, what can get better than that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
have people that are difficult to get under in
Hmm.
hypnosis? So I suspect I would be one, but I don't know. I
It's,
don't know.
it's funny. Most of the times, the people that say, like, you know, I can't be hypnotized, or I think a lot of times they're the easiest
Okay.
to do that.
That's very possible.
It is so fun. It is so fun to do. And it's not, there's different myths out there too about hypnotherapy and stuff. It's not that you are, let me put what you are. You are always in control. No hypnotherapist can have you do something that is morally or ethically not congruent with you. So you are always in control, and you are actually, it's like you're in a light trance. It's a light trance. And people, Bev, are a light trance every day. You're in trance when you drive the car.
Right.
You're in trance when you're listening to the radio or
Meditate.
podcasts. You're in trance when you meditate. You're in trance when, you can see part of my little doggy over here, when you're sitting there and petting your animals, and you're just kind of like in that vibration of like, yeah, that's trance.
The zone.
So
Hmm.
yeah, it's pretty simple. But there is some hypnotherapy tests, I will say, to prove to the client that they actually can be hypnotized. And they're very, very simple. Yeah.
Oh,
And
interesting.
then we start the process.
That's probably a good idea so that they go in with a positive
Yeah, it's like,
view this
because
is going to work.
right, you don't have to convince me. I know it's going to work,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
However, it's to help prove to the client that yes, it actually does work. And it's so simple and it's fun. And yeah, and it's fun to do those tests on them too.
Sure.
Alright.
That's so cool.
Uh,
So I'm interested also in the timeline therapy. Not everybody is aware of that one. I think the NLP is a bit more widespread, but with timeline, are you doing going back to ancestral causes for things?
So great question. Great question, Bev. So timeline therapy, let's put it that way. It can, it can deal with ancestral things. It can deal with, past lives. It can deal with even things that were passed down to us generationally. And it also can be what's going on between, even in conception, like when you are in utero, conception, right? In utero, it could be before you were actually born and you were in utero, 6 months in utero. It could be, up to 7, 8 years old. So it goes on whatever the unconscious mind actually does bring us to. It's not me guessing. It's not me guessing. It is literally a process that goes through with the client and their unconscious. Now, there's a ways to do it. Obviously there's a whole process that goes behind this. However, it's a very simple process, and it's their unconscious mind that is bringing us to the original root cause of whatever. Because one of the things that it actually helps to work through is negative beliefs. So we all have core negative beliefs, and those core negative beliefs are like anger, sadness, fear, right? Hurt, guilt, rage, also shame. Those are all core negative emotions. Now there's other little ones that are umbrellas underneath those, but those are the core ones. So we get in there, and it is getting to the root causes of those, whether, like I said, past life, or it's passed down genealogically. It might be something at, 2 years old, the first time you ever really experienced rage. Well, of course, Bev, you don't realize that, because who's
I,
going to remember, right?
yeah,
You consciously now as an adult, we're not going to remember that. But what happens is the technical thing is, like, your prefrontal cortex is not fully developed. So when we are, from conception up to about 7, 8 years old or so, we're in our unconscious mind the whole time, because again, the prefrontal cortex is not fully developed. So we're taking everything as truth. And that's how we learn our programs, our patterns, and the things and societal things that are around us, right? So it's literally that in itself is literally rewiring again the neural circuitry, creating new neural pathways, and you are getting new learnings versus the emotions and being emotionally triggered by things, so you can create then the future that you want.
yeah.
And it does go back, like I said, though, to the root causes, because we all have significant emotional events in this life or past life.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, every 2-year-old gets into a rage at some point about something. I mean, it doesn't have to be, I'm assuming, some big trauma.
Oh, not
It
at
could
all.
just be, where's my dinner? But,
Right. So let me give you a quick example. I
okay,
promise to be quick. So,
okay.
for instance, let's just say at 2 years old, parents take away a pacifier,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And that child is so lit up and is like raging, right? Well, that's a significant emotional event for them. And maybe that really truly is the first time they experience rage. So let's just say there's a backpack on me right now. So that very first time a boulder went into my backpack, right? And then let's just say at age, I don't know, like 8, something else happens and around a significant emotional event. And then I feel rage again, and those emotions come up that were similar, and it's rage. Well, that just put another boulder in my backpack, right? So then let's just say at 18 something happens, whatever that may be, and it brings up the emotions of rage again. Well, another, you can imagine. So
Right,
now,
right.
okay, so now at age, let's say 40, now something actually triggers us, and we are like, rah, and you think that you are being triggered by what is right now. No, you're not. So in psychology, it's called the whole gestalt line. So you are being triggered by that entire gestalt line, that memory line of that feeling that came up around rage. But you think it's this right now, and it's not. It's usually not what it is that you think that it is consciously. So
That's incredible,
yeah,
because we've all got these backpacks with
right.
so much stuff in them at that rate, right?
Right, right. And think about it. And I don't mean any ugliness by this at all. It's just, if we just do just conscious coaching, right? Because sure, do I do some what I call wise talk counsel? Sure, part of that is, right? And sure, there's cognitive things that they get to do and things like that as well. And we're working with the unconscious mind. But if we're just doing things from a conscious perspective, then what happens is, if you think about the dandelion, when I was just talking about the root causes and thing, right? If you think about a dandelion and how it grows, the dandelion has that, little beautiful yellowish, orange bloom to
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah.
The flower itself, but then it goes down like this. It's a weed, and the roots go and they spread out, right? And what happens is, if we just do conscious coaching, it's like just popping that flower the off right of the head.
Right.
That's it. You're not getting to the root causes of things to be able to have sustainable change. Let's just put it that way.
Right. Or if you take a pill for depression.
Right. Right. So it's not that we are working with just the symptoms. We're actually getting to what's going on underneath, regardless
Exactly.
whether that's from emotional triggers, traumas, health conditions, a habit, whatever the case may be. Yeah. It's
Speak.
so interesting.
It is very powerful. Speaking of negative beliefs,
Yeah.
for the entrepreneurs out there, um, most of us have, successful or not, have these negative thoughts that come up every now and again. You're an imposter. Who's ever going to
Yeah.
pay you that much money to do what you do, etc. What's your advice for just what's the best way to deal with that? Do we?
The best way to deal with that. So something quick that you can do is understand that, and I'll have you write, everybody that's listening, to write this acronym down. Now, this acronym did not come from me. This actually came from a brain and memory coach that's international, who some of you may know, and I follow him. I love him. And I'm in some masterminds with him. His name is Jim Quick. And he came up
Oh,
with the terminology of lie, Lie, Lie. So the first thing is to understand that we all have limited ideas entertained. We all have limited ideas entertained, and that's what he calls lie. So everybody, when we address what the limited ideas that we were entertaining, then you can shift from that perspective. But where that comes from is actually your BS. And a lot of times it is BS.
mhm.
In this case, again, like I said, it's your belief values. But the belief systems that we have that go into the values, right? But a lot of the beliefs that people have are literally BS, bull crap. Okay. And it's to name. So if you've got some negative self-talk going on, we call that ants. Daniel Amen, Dr. Daniel Amen, the Amen clinics, he coined ants, automatic negative thoughts. You have to rewire that negative thought to what it is that you want. So the thing I would do is I would name that saboteur. We call it a saboteur. Like, name that saboteur, that self-talk that's coming in. Name it something else. It's not you, because once you put the labels, it's your thoughts. But once you put a label and you say I, name it like the judge or something totally crazy. It could be, for women, sometimes I have them, they'll say it's, bitchy, whatever, not their own name though,
Right.
right? Sometimes they'll just say, it's the general, it's the sergeant, right? Like, whatever name they want to come up with, except their actual own name. So you, like, you know what, judge, you just need to sit your bleepity bleep down, because you know what, you're not serving right now, and I know what is true and what I want, and this is what I want. So you focus on the direct opposite, the direct opposite. So if somebody's saying, oh my gosh, for a certification, I'm never going to pass this certification, oh my gosh, this is so hard, guess what, you say, well, what is it that I want? Do you want to pass? Yeah, I want to pass. I want to pass. I know I'm going to be able to move through this with ease and flow. And what would it take for me to pass? Well, maybe I need to drink more water because I'm dehydrated, and, or maybe I need to study some more, right? And it gets you into solution mode versus problem mode. So that's just something really quick
Exactly.
that somebody can do.
I like that. The general. Sit down, sir.
Right, right. Or, I mean, believe me, there's some very creative names that people come up with.
I bet.
But when you do that way, then it's not, you're not taking it so personal, and you know that there is that voice inside. So it helps to quiet what we call the inner critic. It will quiet the inner critic and have them sit down, lower their voice, and then you focus on what it is that you want to happen, not what you don't want, what you want to happen.
Right.
Because, most times, Bev, to be quite honest, like overwhelm, stress,
Mhm.
even some depression, things like that. It's really, and I know this is a paradigm switch, okay, but it's really our unconscious mind's way of telling us that we're not focusing on what we want. Yeah, right. It
Okay.
is telling us that we're not focusing on what we want, because see, our mind is always eavesdropping on us all the time. And when we focus on what you want, then things start to be easier, they flow better, there's resources that start to come to you. So
Right.
yeah.
And quite often something looks like it's insurmountable. I'll
Mhm.
never get this certification done. But as a matter of fact, if you actually look at it and look at the steps,
Right,
it's actually not insurmountable.
right,
You know what I mean?
right.
That
And
I,
right. And sometimes it's literally, it's just asking different questions, right? If you want better results, then you ask yourself better questions. And one of those questions, even to segue a little bit deeper into that, is like, what would it take? That's a question I teach all.
yeah,
What would it take for me to pass that test, right? What would it take for an extra $2,000 to show up? What would it take for me to have ten new clients, right? When you do that, that's expansive. The universe then can deliver, right?
right.
Different things to you and different resources when you come from an expansive point of view versus restrictive,
Exactly.
right? So there's a
Allow
total
yourself,
difference.
allow yourself to imagine that happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And go into
fantastic.
solution mode versus the problem mode.
Exactly. There's always five solutions for every problem.
Absolutely. And the only problem that somebody won't solve is when they are really unwilling to shift through it
Mhm.
and look at it from a different perspective. It was Einstein that said that we'll never will and I may not be getting the quote just quite right. However, it's Einstein that said, we're never going to solve a problem with the same mindset that we set it in the first place. So, you know,
Exactly.
makes you thinking about
Exactly.
what you think about.
Yeah. You got to be somebody different.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
A couple little business questions. You and I talked about marketing a little bit
Yeah.
a while back, and you said that you have a what's called a buying niche. What does that mean?
Oh, okay. Okay, great. So another great question. So it's actually a buying market, and the difference is that I actually don't have a particular, niche or a niche, however people want to say it,
Mm.
market. I have a buying market, which is similar to um, let's just say Brene Brown, right? If some people, I hope a lot of people know who Brene Brown is, or
Sure.
even Tony Robbins for that matter, right? It's they don't just work like myself. I don't just work with, executive women or, stay-at-home moms or,
Yeah.
professors. So I don't niche down into that. A buy-in market means like Brene Brown, right? She is an expert on research and shame. So
Hmm.
she works under the umbrella of that and can work with any type of person that is dealing with those things, right? Shame and not feeling worthy and those types of things. So, myself, same thing. I can work, as I gave you example, people come to me from one extreme really truly to the other. So I can work with people depending on what it is that they're wanting to work through. I'm meeting people where they're at versus just niching down to, like I said, maybe corporate executives or,
Right.
women that are between, whatever, 25 and 45, right? Sure, there's some commonalities of different people that come to me. Sure, absolutely there is. But the buying market is that I'm able to address many different things under the umbrella that I have versus just honing in on just that one particular thing. Like, I don't just specialize in, weight reduction or
Right.
people quit smoking. Yes, that's what I can do under that umbrella. And there's so much more.
Exactly.
If that helps to answer the question.
Yes, it does. So how do you attract clients? Is it literally the law of attraction?
Well, let me tell you. Yes, that is part of it. Yes, that is part of it. Now, we also have to do certain things to be able to bring that in as well. But the law of attraction definitely is one of them. Um, word of mouth is another.
Yeah.
Clients, my beautiful clients, they refer people to me. And, they know that I'll do a complimentary discovery call with somebody that they refer me over to, just to kind of get to know them, see what's coming up for them, what's showing up in their life, whether it's a goal that they're wanting to work on, or whether they really are self-sabotaging in one way or another and want to work through something. I also have attract clients through like my private groups that I have. I have a private membership Facebook group. I also attract them through workshops and courses that I have. So
Okay.
there's different funnels,
Yeah.
of course. But the first one does come from being. It's not getting, it's being. So what I'm able to be more, then I'm able to receive more and attract more.
That's pretty powerful.
It is. And it's a practice, to be quite honest. I mean, it
Yeah.
is a practice. It's not just going like, oh,
Right.
law of attraction, this is what I want. No, there is a practice around that as well. So the divine can really deliver it to you, and the universe can be, your buffet table.
That
Right?
sounds
Isn't
good.
that what we want? We want choices, right? We want
Exactly.
resources.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what do you love most about what you do?
Oh my gosh. Oh, I love it. What I love most is to watch the faces of my clients and really their growth and their transformation, like
Mm,
truly. And watching them from, coming in sometimes being that like tight rosebud, and then all of a sudden, or that lotus, right? Lotus flower. And then all of a sudden, how it just goes like this and it blooms and it blossoms. And you actually, their whole demeanor, their physiology, their face, it's just different. And then the way of being that they are, I just absolutely, I mean, it really like it brings me so much joy to see that. It's also them utilizing the tools, because when I'm working with somebody, yes, there's tasking that they get to do as well. And I say I am not the person to come to if you just want to be coddled. That is not me. Now I'm from love and compassion always,
mhm.
and I'm also what we would call steel velvet.
Okay.
Steel velvet, where I'm going to hold people to their magnificence, right? I'm going to hold them to the changes and the behavioral changes that they want to have. So to see them utilize the tools that they have been taught as well, and complete the tasking that is assisting them from a cognitive way and also the unconscious way, that just is like, man, because that's where sustainability comes from for them.
Right.
Absolutely. I love it. Did
That's
I say I
great.
love it? I love it.
There's homework. There's going to be homework involved.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and so play on words, I call it home play.
There you go.
There's going to be home play, right? Because there's different words. So again, from an NLP perspective, there's different words that we attach meanings to, right? So sometimes in school, people didn't like homework. It's like heavy. It's like, oh, right? When we
Yeah.
say home play, you're like, oh, okay. There's
Yeah,
flexibility. There's some, oh, I feel that vibe differently, you know?
exactly. I
But
can make
yes,
time for that.
yes, there is home play, there is tasking, there is, it's a process where I am actually truly working with that person, assisting them. I'm a conduit. They're doing the work. I'm just the facilitator. And there is, I always loved saying this, there is shift that happens because they're able to now really get consciously what they were unconsciously doing. And when that happens, it's like, man, transformation happens because shift does happen.
Yes. That's an eye opener, isn't it? When you realize what's been going on behind
Yeah,
the scenes.
yeah, absolutely. Totally different, and a
Yeah.
lot of times, people spend more time, upgrading their phone, their software and everything on their phone or their computer for that matter. How many times does a software pop up? Oh, you got to install this, on your phone all the time, right?
Right.
Well, sometimes people are upgrading those things in their computer and those programs and everything more often than they are their own mind. So the people that get to work with me and the work that I get to work with them, they get a major upgrade in their mindset like you wouldn't even believe.
2.0, 3.0.
Now, bam. Yeah,
It's great.
absolutely.
It's great. Well, Deb, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. Can you tell us how people can contact you and find out more about your programs and workshops?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I actually have as you said, I was a hypnotherapy trainer as well. So I have a quarterly course that I have. It's an accredited course through the American Board of Hypnotherapy. So I have one of those that's coming up in mid-March. So actually when we go into the show notes, and I know that Bev's gonna post those, you'll have all the different links for that, but that's going to be coming up and it's so much fun. It's a Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. And not only are you learning, but you're also in like trance that whole weekend. So you're just like, oh, and it's powerful because you're taking a deep dive into your unconscious mind. So yeah, check that out. So that's one of the things that's absolutely coming up. I
Okay.
also have workshops on, how to be unlimited using self-hypnosis. I
Ooh,
have a free download that people can get on my website. That's the 3 things that you were never told and how to keep them around boundaries. Boundaries. So people can go on my website.
that's a big one.
Yeah, and that is when somebody does what we call a full breakthrough with me. That is something that I absolutely teach them because there's things there that we were never taught, believe me. But if you go on my website, there is a worksheets on that people can have. And let's see. Oh, and I also have my private membership community that is called the Unlimited Woman. The Unlimited Woman. So if anybody wants to reach out to me about that, I'd love to chat with you. It's 15 minutes. I'll give you, the lowdown on that and what that's all about. And it is so powerful. Like that is one of my dreams is to just have that grow and grow and grow. And for people, Bev, to end suffering and pain because we don't have to be there, and when we're there we can learn to be able to shift through it quicker and faster and make it like that versus lingering in it. So that's one
Yeah.
of my biggest dreams. Yeah, so if they go to my website they can see a lot of this, but it's debdoughty.com. It's DebDoughty.com. There's things on there, all different links. So they can connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram, and we'll have that all in the description, I'm sure.
That's awesome. Do you have a final message for the audience?
Yeah, it's interesting. 2 things. I would like to leave you with that your perception will become your projections.
Mm,
Your perceptions will become your projections. So
yeah.
remember that your mind is always eavesdropping on you all the time. And that's I always love this particular quote is if you keep doing what you're currently doing, nothing changes, right? So nothing changes if nothing changes. If you keep doing what you're currently doing, you're going to keep getting what you're currently getting. So if nothing changes, nothing changes. So make the shift, be able and be willing and surrender to know that change is possible and change can actually be freaking fun when you
Yes.
allow it to be. And what a beautiful person that you can grow into and continue to be and come back to self and have that wholeness and choices. So thank you so much,
That
Beth,
is
for allowing me to
awesome.
be on here. Thank you
Thank
from
you
the bottom of my heart.
so much for being here. Really
Oh, you're
appreciate it.
welcome.
It's wonderful chatting with you.
Oh, you're so welcome. And thank everybody who's going to be listening to this. Absolutely reach out to me if you'd like. And I will do from this show, I will do a 20-30 minute complimentary discovery call with anybody that might have something that's going on, Bev, that, they just want to chat about. I'll give them a tip or two. And then
Okay.
I will let them know how I work with people and see if maybe we'd be a good fit or not. And if we're not, I will tell them that. And I'll also refer them somewhere else.
Oh, awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you. That's fantastic offer. Thanks, Deb.
No, you're welcome. Thanks, Bev.
All right. Talk to you later.
Okay. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.